Israel is offensive from the day they started.
מה אתה חושב אנשים הרגת ככה?
לא ספרתי. אני לא יכול לדעת בחיי. היה לי מקלע עם 250 כדורים.
We didn't need a state of Israel to protect us. It is the provocations of Zionism. The genocide in Gaza is unacceptable in whichever way you look on it. This has to stop, and we say as Jewish people.
But now we see that his administration is full of pro-Zionists. How do you feel about that? Where do you see the future with Donald Trump?
I'm scared. And I hope that something good comes out, good for everyone, good for humanity, because what we are witnessing in the past years, not only the past year, but especially in the past year, is painful and disturbing.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Savage Gentleman podcast. And today we're doing our second episode with Mr. Rabbi Dovid Feldman. How are you today?
Fine, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. So, if you guys don't know, we did an episode about the Palestine issue going on right now in the Middle East, the genocide that's going on. We did it about a year ago. And today we get to do another one. Thankfully, Rabbi Dovid Feldman, came out and he's giving us his time to talk about this issue.
Sure.
So firstly, if you guys are not too familiar, there was a video that kind of went viral of someone in New York City kind of harassing you and giving you a lot of trouble. And obviously we know with standing up for the truth that it comes with, usually hate, right? Especially when it's a more unpopular opinion, especially in your case, amongst your community. So what do you have to say to the people who call you a traitor to the Jewish community?
Well, what we are saying is, first we have to understand that Judaism is not Zionism. Judaism is a religion.
Yes.
A religion only, the belief in Almighty God and the practice of His commandments, nothing to do with nationalism. Versus Zionism, which is a purely political movement, should never be confused together. The state of Israel does not represent all Jews. Now, when people say that being anti-Zionist is either anti-Semitic or traitorous to the Jewish people, this is totally wrong, because this is built on a perception that Judaism and Zionism is the same. So if you oppose Zionism, people believe that you're opposing Judaism, which is not the case. This is Zionist propaganda. On the contrary, the movement of Zionism is not only causing so much harm and so much crimes being committed to the Palestinian people, this is doing so much harm to the Jewish people. When it comes to the anti-Semitism accusation, which is very, close to this a traitor accusation towards the Jewish people, the anti-Semitism accusation being misused for anyone who speaks up against Zionism is not only wrong, it's dangerous for the Jewish people as well. In addition to this being unfair and being used or misused to silence any opposition to Zionist crimes, any opposition to this genocide. But when you conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, you are conflating Judaism with Zionism, which basically makes a statement that as if all Jews support Israel, support the crimes being committed to Palestine, which ends up making a statement that all Jews are, God forbid, accountable for all what's happening.
Which is
now falsely accusing one of anti-Semitism in the case where it isn't, is basically exacerbating anti-Semitism. It's making a statement that all Jews are accountable to what's happening. This is an anti-Semitic statement. But coming back to what you're saying about traitor to the Jewish people, on the contrary, we are standing up for our religion. We are defending our religion from this secular movement, which is not only secular, refusing to follow the religion, is basically the greatest desecration of our religion. When Zionism is doing everything they do, and they still insist to call themselves like the Jewish state, and when you find Benjamin Netanyahu being a secular person, doesn't even claim to be religious, doesn't even claim to follow Judaism, and he speaks for the state of Israel, which is officially a secular movement, doesn't even claim to be religious, and then they dare to misuse that very religion they refuse to follow in order to support crimes which are forbidden in this very same religion. This is a desecration
Yeah.
of our religion and a danger to our people. And when we stand up, we are standing up for our religion, we're standing up for our people. And we say no, none of this is being done in the name of all Jews. Masses of Jewish people disagree with all what's happening. And listen to this, we exclude ourselves from all these crimes.
Yep.
We exclude ourselves from paying the price for what is being done. And we offer any Jew to come and join us and to be excluded from Zionism. But if one chooses to blindly support Zionism, that's the choice of the individual. It's very sad because it's unfortunately committing so many crimes, violations of Judaism to others, and causing so much harm to the Jewish people and to that individual supporting it as well.
Absolutely. And it, obviously in your case, it's definitely, like you said, like they do everything in their power, to make it your life difficult. And that's anyone that's also critiquing Zionism as a whole, right? We see that we had, Mr. Sean King speaking in one of his speeches, and he was saying how it was so hard for him even on Instagram or Meta to even go switch to another platform. The first thing they would say, okay, you can't be saying certain things to even, join up on this other platform. So, I mean, that just shows how they don't want anyone speaking against Israel whatsoever. And that brings me to my next question is, if you had 30 seconds with Benjamin Netanyahu, 30 seconds, what would you say to him?
First of all, I'm not going to spend even 30 seconds with him because my time is way more precious than spending time for nonsense and for people that wouldn't listen to anything. But if I do have a chance, again, I don't choose to speak to people that refuse to listen.
Yep.
But if anybody would be willing to listen, I would say that what you are doing is wrong. It is wrong in humanity. It is wrong in Judaism. It is a violation of our religion and a disadvantage to our people. If you are trying to gain security for the Jewish people, please stop doing what you're doing. And you would, by ending this occupation, by ending this state of Israel, you would please God, bring safety and security for everyone involved, including the Jewish people and obviously the Palestinian people who deserve better life than now.
Absolutely. And then that's when we come to their reasoning behind what they're doing now, why they're killing innocent families, women, children, blowing them to pieces. You'll find the head, you'll find the foot, you'll find the arm laying on the streets. And it's to the point where now, animals, dogs are going there and they're eating, human flesh for food for themselves. And their whole excuse is, we have the right to defend ourselves. Right? After October the 7th, the excuse is we have the right to defend ourselves. So how do you basically debate or go after that argument that they have of we have the right to defend ourselves? Does that make any sense to you?
Israel is not about a self-defense. Israel is offensive from the day they started. Way before 1948, it was already offensive. They came in to a region, they came into a land where there was an indigenous population, mind you, including a small Jewish population. They came in against the will of all of those communities in Palestine, including the Jewish people. The Jewish people refused the Zionist movement in the very beginning and still do.
Yep.
This is not about self-defense. This is offensive from day one. This is about politics, about power. This is dangerous to everyone.
Yeah.
This is causing so much death and destruction to everyone involved. It's an endless cycle of bloodshed where everyone suffers.
Absolutely. And we also have some famous critiques. I don't know if you heard of Candace Owens. She's been very, very pro-Palestine. And she came on Piers Morgan the other day and she said, what we're witnessing is another Holocaust. And I wanted to get your opinion on that and what your thoughts are about what we're seeing in Gaza today being another Holocaust.
Well, I'm not exactly sure on definitions of words, exactly what can be used, exactly in which situations. But what is happening today is a disaster. The genocide in Gaza is unacceptable in whichever way you look on it. This has to stop. And we say as Jewish people, if Jewish people are concerned about what happened in the Holocaust, certainly we should be. And it's not only Jewish people who should be concerned. Every righteous person should be concerned about what happened to the Jewish people in the Holocaust. And none of us want to see this happen again.
Yep.
To whom? To the Jewish people?
Yep.
To nobody. It's basic. It's actually, it's our communities, it's our families, it's my family who went through the Holocaust. And this is something that teaches us not to do this to others. We know what pain feels like. We know what
Suffering.
this suffering is. And this is something that should teach us and should teach everyone that this shouldn't happen to others. This is an embarrassment to our people when we see that the horrors of the Holocaust is being used, is being weaponized
Yeah.
as a tool to justify or support so much suffering inflicted to other people. This is unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
And again, I have to clarify.
Yep.
This is not about the safety of the Jewish people. Jewish people were safe in Palestine before Zionism. We lived in peace before Zionism. We didn't need a state of Israel to protect us. It is the provocations of Zionism, it's the actions of Zionism which has destroyed the peace in the first place. It is the crimes of Israel which is fueling the conflict to the present day, which is in addition to the catastrophe inflicted to the Palestinian people, a danger to the Jewish people.
And now, how do you feel like you said, how Zionism was the reason why, you know, they need to have that state of Israel, the reason why they need to feel the need to defend themselves? Would you say that's also true when it comes to countries like Lebanon, and where they've, you know, used pagers to attack Hezbollah, and there were civilians that were killed? Do you find that there's any similarity between there, or any of their motives of what's going on in Palestine and in Lebanon, or do you think it's two completely different issues? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not saying that Zionism is an excuse to have a state of Israel. Zionism is the cause to the danger. In other words, when they're claiming to do like in self-defense, they are ignoring that there is something, and there was something which triggered all of this. Now, instead of addressing the cause to the problem, they're just continuing the crimes and going around in a cycle where everyone suffers.
Yeah.
Now, Lebanon is definitely related to what's happening in Gaza. It's all about power. It's all about politics. If Lebanon stands in the way of criminal Israel, then obviously Israel is going to attack.
Yep.
It's whoever is going to stand in their way, they will attack. And mind you, even Jewish people, as you mentioned before, attacking people in New York City on the street. But this happens in Palestine as well. When our people, our strong, vibrant, anti-Zionist communities stand up publicly, then they are being harassed, intimidated, and tortured and imprisoned. This happens all the time. And whoever stands in their way, regardless whether they are Palestinians, Lebanese, or Jewish, they would attack.
And this is why they're a secular movement, because it has nothing to do with anything besides, like you said, money, power, greed. And then would you say it's fair to then deem the IDF a terrorist organization or a terrorist group?
Well, the Zionist movement from day one is a terrorist group. There were official agencies in the United States in the very beginning that classified either the Haganah or one of those groups as terrorist organizations. And what's being done today, it's like looking much nicer, you know, with an official government and with official prime minister. But it doesn't change the character of being terrorist. It is terrorist from day one.
From day one. And then that brings us to my next question, is that now we see with the U.S. election, Donald Trump is coming back again. And for me personally, I thought, okay, we saw with the Biden administration and Kamala Harris what they've done in terms of this this genocide. They didn't do anything besides push it even more and allow it to happen. So in my head, I had some sort of hope that, okay, it's already reached a level of bloodshed and continuous killing. My hopes was that, okay, at least Trump would stop the bloodshed. Whether they take the land or not, but at least stop the bloodshed. But now we see that his administration is full of pro-Zionists. How do you feel about that? Where do you see the future with Donald Trump? Do you have any comments or anything to say about that?
Well, I'm scared about the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm upset that pro-Israelis, hardline Israelis should be in the cabinet. I am an American citizen, and by my religion, I'm required to respect my government. But that said, I'm scared. And I hope that something good comes out, good for everyone, good for humanity, because what we are witnessing in the past year, it's not only the past year, but especially in the past year, is painful and disturbing.
And we see that, the reason why I bring up the US and the election is because they obviously support Israel and the state of Israel, and they claim Israel to be an ally, even though they can never list 3 things that Israel has done for America. I was also born in the United States as well, so I am a US citizen as well as Canadian. And what I've obviously through research and, news coming out with social media, we have so much access to different, sources and information. And we see that AIPAC is heavily invested in the US. How do we combat that? How do we stop it? Can we stop it? What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure whether we can stop it, but all of us need to do what we can do. It's basically massive education, which is missing. Controlled media, mainstream media, which is not feeding the people information that they need to know in order to come out with proper conclusions. It's the work of individuals, organizations, or groups to help the masses be informed, the facts on the ground, what is happening. There's so much education, which is crucially needed for people.
Amazing. And that concludes our interview here with Mr. Rabbi Dovid Feldman. So thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate everything you're doing for Palestine and your bravery and you have so much courage.
We try to do God's work, and we try to help the people who deserve to learn, to know better. We appreciate the people listening, and we appreciate your work, because this is crucial work that needs to be done. People deserve to know better.
Thank you so much. And free Palestine.
Free Palestine.